going past the county shops at Barview County Park now. And this is Barview County Campground. Lots of really nice camp spots in this campground. From inside our house, which we are fixing up for a rental over on the coast near Tillamook, we could hear the ocean roaring something terribly loud. So we knew the surf was up and it was a really rough sea. So rather than sit home and do work, we're going to go up and check out the North Jetty of Tillamook Bar. We go through Barview Park and drive out the narrow little paved road to the end of it, where we'll have an uninterrupted view of the North Jetty. And also we can see across to the South Jetty. When we arrive, we see a few cars already there and a few people out walking around, all carrying camera equipment, where on a normal day everyone would be carrying fishing gear. But today it would be foolish to even try it. The fish probably wouldn't be biting, and the sea is too rough for it. There's too much current. All you do is tear up gear. So we're just going to take advantage of taking a few pictures and look around here, and then we'll be going on to go for our hike out Kilchis Point. Storm watching is a wonderful and a very popular thing to do nowadays, and we see plenty of people out doing that. But the jetty is just, the weather's too rough, and so we're not going to walk out on the jetty just because of the danger. Over the end of the jetty at this point, and the ocean is roaring and popping and cracking with spectacular waves covering everything out on the end of the jetty. This is a day when no boat would be foolish enough to go over the bar, unless sometimes the Coast Guard will be out there on a surf drill and they'll take their boats out in that stuff just for practice. Some of the rocks on the jetty, we can see writing and numbers on it, and so each rock was labeled and weighed before it was placed in there. And that's from a repair that was recently done due to it washing out in a king tide. The ocean really takes its vengeance out on the jetty. I look across at the South Jetty, and I understand it's already slated for repair, and I can see how it's really taken a super beating from the king tide and the big surf. Normally there's always fishermen standing out on the jetty, but not today. No one's foolish enough to try it out there, and I'm sure you probably wouldn't have any luck doing so. There's a couple standing here with a spotting scope, but they're not going to stand there for long and get beat by that wind. The markings on these rocks are the result of the last repair done on the jetty. A few more tides like this, and that jetty will need another repair job, I bet. The ocean's picked up sticks and logs and junk and is violently crashing them around in the little pocket right where the jetty meets the land. You don't want to be out in that. One of those logs could hit you and that would be the end. Violently, the waves pick these logs up and crash them around. In and out they go, and up and down along this little area of the beach right where the jetty takes off. There crashed many a log in here, and sometimes it gets violent enough to throw them clear up on top the jetty. An outraged sea is anything but quiet as it roars and pops and crashes and throws debris around like they were toothpicks. Some of the logs are left setting up on the beach, that is, until the next big breaker comes in and refloats them again. It's foggy and hazy enough that we can only see a short distance out here, but that's all we need to see a show like never before. My brief period of time when I walked the deck of a commercial fishing boat, I have seen seas like this, and when it's rough like that, you don't even try to come in. You just stay out there till it's over. Although you're very uncomfortable and would like to be any place but at sea, when you're caught out there, you're caught out there, and so you just have to make the best of it. You just lay out there and roll with it and wonder why on earth you ever went to sea. But it is beautiful out there in a storm. There's no experience like it, being out caught at sea in a storm. I think everyone that hasn't done that has missed something. There's plenty of deadly debris being kicked up on the beach, so it's not a good place to play, at least till the tide come out. Even the seagulls aren't taking any chances of being hit by one of those logs out at sea. They're sitting here waiting for the storm to get over. That is, the ones that haven't flown inland, which they do a lot of times, and gouge around in the agriculture field for bugs and worms and things.
Did you get some pictures of them?
This phrase has probably been repeated millions of times on the deck of a ship, and it's what in the thunder did I ever go to sea for? But when you're out there and it's in a sea like this, you know why you came for the adventure. And after an experience, we're probably not going to get to go fishing today, so it's a good day for a hike. And what a wonderful hike out on Kilchis Point. There are signs at Trail's Edge that give you the important information on the early days of Tillamook County. Go.
Joseph Champion is considered to be the first pioneer settler in the known today as Tillamook County. He arrived in Tillamook Bay on approximately April 2nd, 1851. He unloaded his provisions at Kilchis Point and took up residence in a spruce tree stump. Joe was born in Philadelphia in 1813 and traveled to California in 1849, where he stayed for a short time before setting sail for the Oregon Territory. He arrived in Astoria during the fall of 1850.
Good trail to watch birds on, and here's some of the birds you might find on the trail. The Volts were another very early family to settle in Tillamook County, and they did really well. Look how many people there are in their family at this point. And anyway, some of their family are still in Tillamook County, with probably not even getting a speck of mud on them. And when you get tired, you can sit on one of these benches and rest a bit and take in nature, all the birds singing, and there are information signs everywhere telling about the history of Kilchis Point. Tillamook Bay used to be a very wonderful logging port where they dragged rafts of logs down from all the rivers up above before there were good log trucks and float them down. And they even had a train to load some on and dump into the bay and then float them to the mills. You can still, as you enter Garibaldi, you can see the huge smokestack where these big logs were brought in. And there's even sculptures in stone out on Kilchis Point. When they used to log here, that was when they used to make logs huge. And so there's a lot of huge old growth there. And since this period of time, there have been many forest fires, and the bay is pretty much sedimented in. And then they're log trucks, so they don't need to float the logs anymore. Tillamook's first European resident lived in the stump of one of these huge spruce trees. A form of licorice fern growing on this tree, and then big sword ferns all through the forest floor, and salal. This is the true licorice fern here. It's the one that you can take the root and use it for, it tastes kind of like licorice. And the pioneers used to use that for seasoning things. The Tillamook Indians were very, very skilled basket weavers, and they weaved these baskets for every use you could imagine. There's some of them, they would even weave them very tightly and then cover them with pitch from the spruce trees or some tree like that, and they would put water in them and then drop hot rocks in, and they could cook like clams and different seafood in these baskets. While we were out here, we heard some shots from duck hunters, but they weren't hunting anywhere near the way the early Americans hunted ducks here. Like most Native American tribes, the Tillamook Indians had no written language, but there were stories carried down through oral traditions, and through that, scientists have been able to piece together the way of life and how they lived and what they did. One of the things they did was flatten heads by tying a board over a newborn's head and then keeping it bound until they grew up, and then they had this flat head, which was a sign of royalty. And Lewis and Clark talk about this in their journals and tell about how disgusting it looked to them. Whitney Logging was a big name in the Tillamook County area, and look at the trees. They made them big at that time. And anyway, a lot of these were huge spruce that they sawed, and they must have had really big, good mills to saw that kind of thing. A nice little stream that flows into the bay. Look and see if there are any salmon up here spawning. And then that's just for bird watching and stuff, is it?
Yeah, to get out of the rain.
Oh, yeah.
Bay of the Spit.
There's
Cape Mears Lake is right over on the other side of those trees.
Right on the other side of the trees is Cape Mears Lake.
They just reopened that road up too. Side, you can see the pylons in the bay still of where they've had old stuff.
Oh, I see a bunch of like little stubs of pilings sticking up out there. That must be what it is right here.
There one's like the actual house and the other one's a guest house, but they're huge mansion like log cabins.
I'll be
I can see
darned.
them from my house, but I can't see it from this angle.
Yeah, and the boathouse you built, you say it was right over across there?
Yeah, see that shiny roof with the flagpole?
Yeah?
Way across there?
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. They're actually the owners that own the house up on the hill too.
This is all for now, and I'd certainly appreciate it if you could subscribe. I really need that on this channel. So we'll see you next time.